Hey, hi community. So today we will discuss about what is three-tier application. You must have heard the term of three-tier application. A lot of time they also ask in interviews what is three-tier application. So we can see it today. So three-tier application, as you know from the name itself, there will be three tiers will be involved in the whole application. Okay. So first is tier 1. So I have written few things here that so we can save a little bit time. So tier 1 application means it will be mostly a UI layer. UI layer what? Means the user trying to interact with the layer that we call as in tier 1, and that will be UI layer. So UI layer can be anything. It could be of Android, React, it could be a web page by doing the some just HTML or any JS other technologies or any other framework like Bootstrap or anything. So that's how the tier 1 works. Okay, so that we call as in tier 1, which is also called as a client tier. Okay, which is also called as an client tier, right? So this is tier 1. What is next? Next is tier 2. Tier 2 called as an logic tier. Logic tier means where, yeah, so here all your front end developers, right? Front end devs or and your Android devs, all these used to take care of these tier 1. Okay, so next is logic tier. So logic tier, what happens? Logic tier will have a backend logics where the user can only interact with the first layer, but the logic works behind, right? So as an example, if in ecom you are trying to search anything, so of course some logic works, right? Then only you will be able to search some particular feature. So for that purpose, logic frameworks or logic implementation happens in the logic tier. Okay, so backend logic and the system, like API. So we used to call something and then the API goes and the logic works build over the API and it fetches the data and all. So those all things works under the logic tier, right? So how, as an example, suppose this is again UI. You are trying to search again, right? So whenever you are trying to search, some logic may apply and it will, like, suppose it is just rotating and asking you to keep wait for like 3 seconds maybe. In that span of 3 seconds your code and logic works in the backend, and then you will be able to see the particular thing that you have searched for, right? So that is tier 2. In tier 2 mostly the backend developer works, also the ML developers comes under this. In somewhere data scientist also can come under the logic tier, and any AI developers, yeah, AI developers, ML developers, backend developers, they use some technologies called as in like Spring, Django, or any backend framework, maybe in the in like Node.js or something, right? So all those things can covered under logic tier, which is called as in backend logics, and which has been handled by, which usually gets handled by backend developers, right? So that is tier 2. Tier 2 is the closest one, which is interacting with the tier 1, right? As an example, what? This is our backend, this is our user UI. User is interacting from here. So of course the logic works here and gives the data, right? So this is happens. This is actually happening in the tier 2. What is tier 3? So tier 3 called as in data tier. What happened in this? I'm just usually calling as in tier. You can say tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I'm just used to speaking as in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Whatever you can speak. Maybe let's just take as in like tier 3. So what happens in data tier? Data tier will actually gets validated for the data part, database part. So as an example, again the same example, suppose if this is UI and we are trying to search, or user is trying to search, it goes to the backend and some logic or something gets applied, right? But logic had stored their data somewhere, right? Of course it must have been saved the data somewhere, right? So suppose here you have searched for the cloth, the backend logic applies, it is trying to search for the cloth, and then it goes to database where all the clothes and all the database, all the shirt databases and everything is there. So it will fetch the data from here and it will show us in the UI, like, yeah, this is your shirt, this is your number of shirt, different colors and all, right? So what happens, this is indirectly or anyways connected to the database as well, and but the logic applies, so it has to go through the tier 2, right? So that is data tier. Data tier will have like MySQL DB, NoSQL DB, like MongoDB, any documentation DB, and mean stack is actually a 3-tier application which has all these things, right? So database usually gets taken care by backend developer in organizations, right? But in many organizations there will be separate database engineers as well, right? So they used to take care of only databases, right? So this is the basically all these 3 tiers. But how the journey happens, the same way, whenever user comes, it takes his mobile, goes searching for anything, suppose like booking a cab or something, right? And then whenever the backend logic happens, it has searched here, now it goes to backend logic, it fetches the data and gives it like drivers are available and all, and then it will show in the app like booked, right? So that's how the journey works for the tier 3, tier 2, tier 1, right? So that's how it works. That is the overview of how 3-tier application, what is 3-tier application and how it works. Mostly in our general life, mostly we use 3-tier application, but it doesn't necessary that always we are using any 3-tier application. It is highly scalable as well. Whenever we want to reduce something or whenever we want to increase the database or capacity or volume, all these can be done easily. So impact will be less to the user, right? So thank you.